Hello and welcome back to the Burn, Fat, and Feast podcast. My name is Sarah, your host. I have a very special guest today who I cannot wait to chat with because he's a man. Okay, I know we have lots of women on this podcast, but hold tight, because he is a man. However, he works with women 40 and older. So he works with our people with health and nutrition and fitness. And so I'm excited to have Joe on today to chat with us about what he does. But really, I want to hear his story as to how he got into working with women as a man who's around 30 years old, I believe, but we'll let him tell us. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah. That is, man, so the more podcasts I get on, this is like the typical intro because these are you ladies are the only ones that I work with. And a lot of times before you get to know me, I don't know if you can see the video, but I just throw up quotation marks, get to know me. Um, there's a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people that will greet me with pitchforks and torches and everything. And they're like, what does this guy know? He's never going to experience what we experience. And that couldn't be closer to the truth. I'm never going to actually experience midlife as a woman or perimenopause or menopause or postmenopause, but that doesn't mean I can't have an understanding and an education around it. And then to take that a step further, it doesn't mean I can't have a damn good story as to why I want to help this demographic of people.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the best place to start. You're curious, everyone's curious, and I like to share it. So let's go.
Yeah.
It's really a three-part story, and it starts when I was 13 years old. I had two stepbrothers, and sometimes they would live with myself and my mom, and sometimes they would live at their other parents' house. And one week when they were gone, I was kind of headed down the wrong path as a 13-year-old, and it was just me and my mom in the house. She was really my only one strong, consistent role model in my life. And I think that she could clearly see I was going down the wrong path. So she told me, she checks in. She's like, Joe, did you do your homework? Did you do everything you need to do for school? I was like, yep. Granted, it wasn't done well, but it was done. And she's like, awesome. I'm going to the gym. I think you'd really like coming with me. Why don't you come? I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I'd love to go because at 13, I was really tall, really skinny, really unathletic, not smart, fixed mindset, all the limiting factors. And I was getting picked on a lot for it. Um, and so I was like, yeah, I'd love to go to the gym. So she brings me there. The first day she opens up the door, I fell in love with it because I could see through that door. I could see in the gym and I could see those guys that I wanted to look like and be like. They had the muscles and the confidence and they walked with their shoulders back and their chest up, their eyes forward. And it's like, that's what I want, but I don't have that. So this is the place for me. And ever since that day, I fell in love with the gym and it completely redirected the path I was going down. So, number one, I just want to give back to people like my mom and to my mom because I understand that as the ones that raise the kids and run the house, you ladies have the most impact under every single roof. And if I can impact your life, I can impact everyone's life in that
Mm,
roof, under that
yeah.
roof. So that's number one. I continued going to the gym from 13 to 18 when I graduated high school, still just as tall. So I was about 5'11, still just as skinny. So I graduated at 140 pounds and I continued to get picked on. And it got worse because in the beginning, it was just my friends and my brothers. And it's like, all right, guys, this isn't fun, but I know you don't dislike
Mm,
me. It eventually turned into dislike and people being very unkind to me. And it really messed with me. And so I had this chip on my shoulder that I really had to prove. And I was like, not only do I want to get more muscular for myself and more confident for myself and smarter for myself, but I need to prove everyone wrong. And so I had this goal of being about 195 pounds because in the magazines I read, the videos I watched, the men that I wanted to look like weighed that much. And so I graduate high school, I go into college, I start pursuing a career in surgery, which is part three of the story that I'll get into soon. But I also start partying and drinking alcohol and treating my body like absolute crap. And from that, I reached my goal weight of 195 pounds and I continued going. So I went from 140, went straight past 195, and went up to about 225 pounds. And then I had a new problem. I was still not that smart, not that athletic, pretty goofy, but now I was also overweight and I needed to figure that out. Like I said, I was pursuing a career in surgery. So I had to take these courses like anatomy, physiology, nutrition, kinesiology, and I really started to understand what the human body needed in order to create change. And the first person I started to apply that to was myself. And so with me going to the gym from 13 all the way until about, gosh, 20 or 21 years old at this point, I had built a considerable amount of muscle underneath the body fat that I gained. And so when I applied everything, I shed the body fat, I kept the muscle, and I got to the point where I am now. And so I'm exactly where I said I wanted to be. Right now, I'm about 194 pounds as of Monday morning. Um, really confident in myself, really healthy, really athletic, coordinated, functional, all the things I want to be. And when I did that, everybody started to ask, they're like, Joe, growing up in a small town, we all know you from when you were a kid. You were really skinny, then you were overweight, and now you look better, you seem more confident, you're healthier, everything seems good. Can you teach me how to do this? Because I would love to do it too. And I was like, yeah, I would love to help people just like me. So not women 40 plus, but people like Joe that were 18 to 21 and wanting to be in better shape and more confident. So I started these online group training challenges that I would lead on Zoom. And the first one, I started advertising and I was just talking like I do now, thinking that I would attract people like me. But on the first Sunday morning, when I open up my laptop and open up Zoom and look back at all the faces that signed up for my challenge, not a single one looked like me. Every single person in that group was a woman 40 plus that looked a whole lot more like my mom. And I was like, well, what happened? How did I get this crowd? And I think it's because I grew up around mostly my mom, a really strong female role model, and all of her friends. I learned to communicate with them and talk like them and talk in ways that resonate with them. And so I naturally attracted them. And I'm not gonna lie, that first call I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can help them, because much like many people think, I'm not like them. They're not like me. I wonder if the same things will work. But by the end of that first call, we were having a blast. We were all laughing. We had a great time. And at the end of those first 6 weeks, I created so much change in their lives that I just kept running with it. I was like, this is fun. I like this. I get along good with this population. And then part three is, like I said, I was pursuing a career in surgery. I was not making enough money in these group challenges to only do this. So I had to still go to work. And in surgery, I was a surgical technologist. So my job was to set up the operating room for the doctors. And then during the procedure, do everything they couldn't do with their own two hands. And so I'm working really closely with the surgeons every day. But not only that, in my second job in surgery, I joined a team of 6 others that had my same role. All 6 were women. I was the only man. And they thought it was a great idea to take the one man on that team and stick him inside of the OB and GYN based rooms. And so then I spent the next 3.5 years really working alongside OB/GYN surgeons, 40 hours a week, plus on-call emergency surgery, learning everything I could about the female body and how it worked. And so that's kind of the conclusion of my 3-part stories. Number one, I want to give back to my mom and influence the head of the household so I can affect an entire household. Number two, I have fun with this community. Like, it's really fun for me. And number three, I understand the changes their body are going through really well.
I love that. Oh my gosh. What a story. Goodness me. And it is like, maybe I read something in your bio that said that this path chose you. And that's exactly what you have created, this picture in my mind of it. You didn't go out searching for it. It did choose you. You know, you log in, like you said, you logged into Zoom and there we are. Here we are. We're ready. We're ready to learn from you.
That was it.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Stories are my favorite always, because they're so impactful, and that creates the passion and the purpose behind what we do as entrepreneurs. So thank you so very much for sharing that with us. Okay. I want to dig in today to be a little unconventional. And I think that your approach is oh so similar to what I do and what we do in Burn, Fat, and Feast. But I want to start today by talking about diets, because you mentioned oftentimes that women need to detox from past diets that they have done before. Can you explain what that means and kind of the parameters there?
Yeah, so I coined that phrase just because it has 2 really trendy words that a lot of people love to see. Detoxes and diets all in one, but it's really quite the opposite of that. Oh my God, those balloons. And for anybody watching live, I just said one and then two with my hands, and when I did two, the balloons
And
came
there's
out. And
balloons.
anyways, I put them together and I created the diet detox method. And really what it is like you just said, Sarah, detoxifying your body from the damage that past diets have done. And as any of the listeners that are really like religious to your podcast, I'm sure already know, diets add a ton of stress to our body because we're not giving our bodies the calories that it needs. And when our body doesn't get the calories it needs to thrive, it then shifts into more of a survival state. It starts surviving rather than thriving. And nothing good happens in a state of survival. We need to let it know it's safe, let it know it's going to get its next meal, let it know that it can burn the calories it's getting rather than store them for later. And only when we do that does it start to work with us rather than against us.
Yeah. What you just said is so true. Our body was created for that survival mechanism. And so when it shuts down like that, we are in a state of feeling like we're not safe. The body feels just like that. It's not safe enough to release fat, to release anything. And so, we're in this high cortisol state and nothing is happening that we want to happen. That's awesome. So then can you kind of walk us through, what does that mean for someone? Okay, I need to detox my diet. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it generally looks like doing less to achieve more. And again, for anyone that listens to you on a regular basis, they're going to be like, wow, Sarah's not crazy. Like this other guy also agrees with her. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for affirming me.
Yeah. It's always good to have someone else come in and say the same thing. It's like, see, I'm not crazy. Yeah, we just need to do less because in this day and age, all we do is move, think, and do. And it just, like you said, it puts our body under a massive amount of stress and puts our cortisol levels through the roof. And so instead of working out 5, 6, 7 times a week and eating 1,200 calories, I would love to see those two things flip-flop. So now maybe we're eating 1,800 calories and we're working out 3 days a week or 4 days a week. And so now you're lowering the stress response that happens from exercise and you're raising the recovery response that happens from nutrition.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect formula.
I love that. Okay. So can you talk a little bit about, because this is exactly what we talk about, but when I present this, oftentimes women are like, but I can't lose weight when I eat 1,800 calories a day. Like that, I can't do that. That is the initial response that most women say. And I will always say, I eat over 2,000 calories a day. I'm 5'6", 120 pounds. So, it's not, anyway, I digress. I want to hear from you. How do you put this in your words when someone says, but I can't do that. I can't lose weight if I eat that much food?
So number one, I would ask if that's a tried and true fact or if that's a limiting belief.
Yeah.
And then if it's a tried and true fact and someone has in fact gone up to the 1,800 calories or the 2,000 calories or whatever their maintenance is, I want to ask how they did it. Because much like anything else, there's a very right and a very wrong way to do everything. And the same thing goes with this process. And so did somebody go from eating that 1,200 calories a day up to 2,000 the next day? Because if so, I promise that they're right. They're not going to lose weight and their body's not going to respond. But if they move up there slowly and systematically with someone guiding them that knows the process and can watch how their body responds with them, they're probably wrong. And that's probably a limiting belief. And the other thing I see is that it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how well I phrase this or how well you say it, Sarah. They're not going to believe it till they see it. And we can't do anything about that. But if they've listened to anything else that we've ever said and we've been right, we're probably going to be right again. And so I just want them to trust the process and give it time. Because realistically, what's their other option? They're not losing weight at 1,200 calories. What are they going to do now? Eat 800?
Yeah. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that is exactly where I go with this discussion of How's that working for you now?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be having this conversation, right? If it was working for you. How is it working? It's not working for you now. So just exactly what you said. What is your other option? To eat 800 calories a day? That's not surviving. That's not living. So yeah, I think the as much as we can talk about this better to create that different mindset around what this actually looks like and how it can happen. And I love how you presented it as, tell me how you did that before, right? What were you eating? What were those macros? What does that
Hmm.
look like when you said, that doesn't work for me?
Yeah, exactly. And like the other thing that I'll see, and I'm sure that you have a listener that when you said, what is your other option? Somebody somewhere probably said, I'm going to go on hormones or try a supplement or do this. It's like, great. I am, I think that HRT can be wonderful. I think that supplements can also be wonderful. But I also think that they don't come number one. I think
Mhm.
that giving your body natural things comes number one. And only when you have these foundational things in place, then we move on to the next. Right. And so if you're treating your body like crap 7 days a week, but you start to give it hormones, great. Like now your hormones are in function, but you still treat your body like crap. You're not going to get anywhere. We need to do the thing that solves the problem first. And then adding hormones or adding supplements or whatever this person that I just made up in my mind is thinking, then we can expedite their process through whatever that thought was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. So many yeses to that. Everybody's looking for how's it going to happen fast, right? And it's not our fault necessarily because we live in that world. I mean, here's
No.
my phone right beside me. We live in well, I'm just going to
Yep.
find it. I'm going to figure it out right this second. It's instant gratification. We have everything we need at our fingertips. So why can't we quickly fix this, make the adjustment and take a hormone and everything is fine. And I could not agree with you more. I like to say that, the lifestyle, that's our foundation. That's our starting point where we're building from, right? When we're like building our house, starting from the bottom up. In the HRT and the supplements, that's the next level. I
Mm-hmm.
call it the cherry on top. That's cherry on top. Like you got all the other things and then you add that to the very top. So I appreciate you saying that.
You got it.
For
Yeah,
sure.
of course. The other
So,
thing that I see, sorry to interrupt you,
no, go ahead.
is I don't think anything that we're saying is like news to anyone. I think it's a great reminder because we all know we live in this crazy, crazy digital age that distracts us from everything. And I think that by you saying what you just said, you're going to help a lot of people on their car ride today when they go to work, and you're going to help them through that one day. But one day is not enough to create that change. And like, that's why people like you or me exist,
Mhm.
because a lot of people need those reminders daily or weekly
Yeah.
or a text message every other day to recenter them. Like, all right, no, they're right. There is no quick fix. And I knew that yesterday, but I forgot today. But now it's a good reminder. I'm getting back on track. I'm going to do the things I need to do.
Yeah.
Like, this is why people like you are valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, for sure. That's why we're here, right? We're not just here to say the words, but to be there every step of the way as you go through. And what we have found in our community is that's the big thing is the community is not walking through it alone and saying, hey, I'm feeling like this today. And 10 other people saying, me too, been there. Here's what I've done, and just having that community of other voices of reason around you is so impactful because yeah, like you said, how many times do we hear something in a day and we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Oh, I should do that. Oh, I should make that change, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be wellness related. And then the next day you totally forgot, right? My kids are really good at this. It's summer right now and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go for a walk every day and I'm gonna clean my room every day. It's summer and I'm have all this time. And we're a week in summer right now, and they're like, nah, don't care so much about it.
Every day for one day, right?
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so let's touch on this really quick before we wrap up today, because I think this is so important as well. When we're talking about trying to lose fat, and honestly, I think most women don't even really care to know the difference, or don't know the difference at the beginning of weight loss versus fat loss. But
Mhm.
what you mentioned is that they actually shouldn't even be focusing on losing anything, but they should be focused on something else. So, can you explain that a little bit further?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're talking about a lot of hard concepts for people to grasp because for so long we focused on the opposite as an industry. Um, but long term, if someone really wants to do this the right way, I want them to take the idea of weight loss or fat loss out of their brain for, in a perfect world, at least 6 months, and instead focus on gaining something, which is crazy to hear. But I would
Mhm.
love to see this entire population focus on gaining muscle before ever considering losing fat. Okay. Because that's going to do, I mean, it's going to do a number of things for us, but it's going to do two main things. It's going to increase our metabolic rate. And so, what I mean by that is increase our food freedoms, the amount of food that you get to eat every day without gaining weight. And it's also, God, I mean, there's such a big list, hard to pick two,
Mhm.
but it's also going to make it so that when you lose your weight or your body fat, you don't just look like a smaller version of you now. You look the way you want to look in your head, in your imagination, in your dreams when you future cast. Because if you lose all your body fat, but you have no muscle under there, you're still not going to have that toned, defined, tight hourglass body, whatever body it is you want, you're not going to have that
Yeah.
unless you build the muscle, the foundation, what's under the fat.
Can you say it louder for the ladies in the back?
That's a hard one to
Oh,
get through.
it is. And sometimes the terminology that I think we use, and I say we as in I'm 46,
Mm,
us women, this age use is it throws us off. And you just said one of them, tone, you want that toned look. And that's what women want. Oh, I don't want to be bulky. I want to have the toned look. Well, guess what, ladies? Toned means that you're building muscle. You can't be toned if you don't have the muscle. And so, you can lose the fat, you can lose all the subcutaneous fat you have, but if you don't have muscle underneath, it's not going to be toned. You need muscle. You need the mass of muscle to be toned. And don't get me wrong, that does not mean you're going to look like a bodybuilder. It simply means you're going to have the look that you want and be tight. It's the tight toned look that they're after.
absolutely. Yeah. Too many people think that because I'm the one coaching them and telling them to strength train, and because they see me strength training, they're going to look like me.
Mm.
And I need to remind them that, like you said in the beginning, I'm a 30-year-old man. Like I said, after that, I started training at 13. It took me 17 years to get to where I am. And I'm not a huge guy. Like I have muscle on my body, but I'm not huge. And
Yeah.
trust me, I've tried to get huge. It's not that easy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and let's just go back to the hormone factor. Men and women, we have different
Yes.
amount of hormones and different hormones in our body, and the amount of testosterone that I have versus you is vastly different. And so our body mechanics we're not even set up to be
Mm-mm.
big and bulky. And when you do see that as a woman, you see another woman, with that bulky, bodybuilder look, it's not all natural. There are other things happening there that are being used. And so that's not what we're talking about when we're saying that toned look or gaining muscle mass, because I
Hmm.
think, those are the words that women hear, gaining muscle mass, and that sounds very scary.
Yeah, I think it's that mass word, right? It sounds so close to massive that it's like, I don't want to be big. I don't want to take up that much space. It's like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Joe, I would love to hear from you. If there's somebody listening right now who is struggling, they're struggling with any of this, the mindset piece, or just getting started, what would you say to them right now?
Small steps, small, simple steps are going to be the game changer for everyone in anything for the rest of your life. Um, and so if you're struggling, what I would love for you to do is re-listen to this podcast or just think about one thing that either of us said that stuck out, trash the rest of it for now, and go do that one thing today. Like before your head hits the pillow, go do that one thing. Whether it's figure out what your maintenance calories are, figure out a strength training program, whatever it may be, go do it.
Yeah.
And then you've won your day. And then tomorrow, do the same thing. I don't even want somebody to add a new goal tomorrow because adding a new goal every day is unrealistic. But adding a new goal every week or bi-weekly or monthly, and then practicing that one consistently, that's how we win. And it's just like pushing a little pebble down a mountain. Like in the beginning, not much is happening, but at the end, you could have caused an entire avalanche because it continued to roll nonstop. And that's all we need is just
Yeah.
small, simple steps repeated over a long period of time.
Yes, so much. Yes. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Thank you so very much, Joe. I've thoroughly enjoyed our talk today. So can you share with everyone where they can find you and maybe what you're up to these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody can find me, just type in my name. It's probably right in the podcast, but Joe Hoye, either on Facebook or Instagram. That's the easiest place to find me. For anybody that wants to create a big life change, I'm hosting a summit in about a month now. I don't know when this will air, but we record this June 12. It's going to come out, or it's going to be happening July 15 to 19. Okay. It's completely free, called the Midlife Makeover Summit. And it's a 5-day event. So day one is nutrition based, day two is exercise, day three is mindset, then health, then menopause. We have 4 to 6 world-class speakers every single day. And like I said, it is free. And so if you can't pull something out of this podcast, which you definitely should be able to, I'd love to see you guys in the audience. It's online, so anybody can make it. And then I know we talked about this in the beginning, Sarah, but if anybody resonated with what I had to say, which probably means they resonate with what you have to say as well, clearly you know what you're doing. But I'd also love to offer someone 3 months of free coaching with my team. And so Perfect. This is a no strings attached real coaching session. You got 24/7 access to our coaches, bi-weekly Zoom calls with a one-on-one coach, and that's it. So maybe I'll give you a link they can apply down below, and we will pick one person to win that.
Awesome. Fabulous opportunity. Thank you so very much, Joe. Again, it has been a pleasure. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon on the podcast.
Thank you, Sarah.